All right, if you guys would grab out your maintaining a balance unit test review, we're going to go through each individual question. All right, so number one, or the first part, it says solve each equation, show all your steps, and check your answers. All right, so number one, I have 3x plus 4 is equal to 22. Now, I'm going to write my little steps over here off to the side. First thing I do is add or subtract. Then I multiply or I divide. Okay, so I have 3x plus 4 is equal to 22. I'm going to do the opposite of what I see. Well, I see that I'm adding 4, and the opposite of adding 4 is subtracting. So I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I'm left with 3x on the left is equal to, well, when I take away 4 from 22, I get 18. I'm done adding and subtracting. Now I need to multiply or divide. Well, I see multiplication, so I need to do division. 3 divided by 3 goes to 1. I'm left with x is equal to 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, number 2, 7x plus 5 minus 9. The first step I need to do is subtract 5 from both sides. I'm left with 7x is equal to, well, not negative 9 plus minus 5. We need to add these two numbers because I started the negatives and I'm going furthermore into the negatives. So I have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have negative 14. I see multiplication. I need to think division. So I'm going to divide by 7 on both sides to give me x is equal to negative divided by positive is a negative. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So x is equal to negative 2. Okay, number 3, what are the steps you would use to solve this problem? So my steps, I am going to do this. I'm going to do off to the side. We're going to solve it as well because I think using solving is also great extra practice for us. So I have 14 is equal to 22 plus x over 2. Well, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to subtract 22 from both sides. Both sides. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 22 from both sides. I'm left with x over 2 on the right. Well, I have a positive 14 minus 22, so I'm really going to subtract my two numbers here. I need to borrow and carry. 12 minus 4 is 8, so I'm going to get x over 2 is equal to 8. Now, I have a positive 14 and a negative 22. I have more negatives, so it's a negative 8. I see division, so then now I need to multiply by 2 on both sides. So to do the opposite, times 2 on both sides. I'm left with x on the right is 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. All right, let's look at letter B. So first step, second step. First step I need to do, I see subtraction, so I need to think addition. So I need to add 9 to both sides. I'm left with 2x is equal to, well, 9 plus 4 is 13. Then I see multiplication and I need to think division. So then now I need to divide by 2 on both sides. And 13 divided by 2, well, half of 13 is going to give me 6.5. And then letter C, I see x over 2 minus 9 is equal to 4. It's very similar to the top. So my first step is going to be the same. I need to add 9 to both sides. Then here comes my difference. Originally up here, I saw multiplication. Down here at letter C, I see division. So my second step, instead of dividing by 2, I need to multiply by 2 on both sides. So I need to multiply by 2 on both sides to give me x is equal to 8. To give me x is equal to 8. All right. So write and solve an equation to answer each question. So I've got a pair of supplementary angles. I learned that supplementary is equal to 180. So I need to write an equation to solve for the measure of y. Now, an equation is not 180 minus 7. That's not what it is. An equation is showing me that this angle y plus this angle 77 is equal to 180. This is the correct equation. Doing 180 minus 77, doing that is not correct. That is not the correct equation. You must write an equation and it must be set equal to something. All right, so now we need to use our equation to solve for y. So I'm going to have y plus 77 is equal to 180. Well, to get y by itself, I'm going to subtract 77. To have y is equal to, well, I've got to borrow and carry 3, 0, 1. So y is equal to 103 degrees. All right, number 5, I have a pair of vertical angles. Well, when I know about vertical angles, they are equal to one another. So 92 is equal to 3x plus 20. So to write my equation, I need to take this angle of 3x plus 20, and I need to set it equal to the opposite angle of 92. And now I'm going to rewrite it and solve. Plus 20 is equal to 92. I subtract 20 on both sides. Now I'm left with 3x is equal to 72. Divide by 3 on both sides. 3 can go into 7 2 times. 6, 1, 2. 3 can go into 12 4 times with nothing left over to give me x is equal to 24. All right, number 6. We have an isosceles triangle that has base angles that each measure 35 degrees. So I need to write an equation that can be used to find z for the measure of the third angle inside of my isosceles triangle. Well, what we need to know is that all of my angles inside of a triangle equal up to 180 degrees. So I need to write an equation, and it's going to look similar to the equation that I wrote here, where it's y plus 77 equals 180. So I know that all 3 of my angles on the inside, all of them have to equal up to 180. So I'm going to say this angle plus this angle plus this angle is equal to 180 degrees. Okay. Now I see that I have 35 plus 35. Well, I can simplify that and combine them to 70. So I have 70 plus z is equal to 180. And then this is our final answer. We don't have to solve it, just asked us to write an equation. All right, number 7, use the pan balance to answer the question. Use the symbols shown on the balance to write an equation. Let the rectangles equal x and the squares equal 1. All right, so I got 2 x's on the left side. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares, which is 5 ones is equal here. This little triangle means equal. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 ones on the right side. Now I'm going to use my equation to help me determine how many boxes are going to be in each rectangle. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides to be left with 2x is equal to, well, when I take 5 away from 13, we can even use this to help us out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left. Divided by 2 on both sides to create 2 equal groups, which means each rectangle should have 4 boxes on the inside. All right, number 8. Use the symbols shown on the balance to write an equation. So this time I have boxes and I have circles. So I'm going to let every single box equal x and every single circle equal 1. So I see that I have 1, 2, 3 x's. So I have 3x plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 ones is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is equal to 9. I'm going to rewrite it down here so that way I can solve it. 3x plus 6 is equal to 9. Oh, I am running out of color. There we go. 3x plus 6 is equal to 9. Minus 6 on both sides. I'm left with 3x is equal to 3. Divide by 3 on both sides to give me x is equal to 1. Oops, there we go. Sorry, x is equal to 1. All right, so we need to write an inequality to describe each of the situations. So the minimum age for voting in the U.S. is 18 years old. Let A represent the voter's age. So let's say, for example, A is you. How old do you have to be to vote? Well, you have to be 18. Can you vote at 18? Yes, so I can equal to 18. Do I get to vote at less than 18 or greater than 18? Well, you have to be 18 or older. So my inequality needs to open up towards A to show that you have to be bigger than 18 or you have to be equal to 18. All right, number 10. The Kingsville High School Booster Club is sponsoring a car wash to earn money for a new soccer uniform. They have already raised $250. So I start with $250. Then each car wash is $3. So if I'm saying it's $3 per car, I'm going to have 3x. How many cars, so this is going to be adding, how many cars C will they have to wash to collect more than 400? Okay, so I start with 250. I'm adding $3 for every car. So I'm adding $3 for every car onto my 250. My goal is 400, but I want to have more than 400. So can I equal 400? No, because it's saying more than. So my inequality needs to open up away from 400 to show that I'm going to be greater than 400. All right, number 11. This time we are asked to solve each inequality and then to graph the solution on our graph here. All right, so remembering solving inequalities, it's the same steps as solving an equation. Okay, the only thing that is different is when you multiply or divide by a negative, we flip our sign. That is the only thing that is different, is when you multiply or divide by a negative, we flip the sign. All right, so let's look. 3x plus 7 is less or greater than or equal to negative 5. Sorry. So the first step I do is subtract by 7. I have 3x. Well, I still keep the same inequality. I didn't do anything different. I have a negative 5, and I'm taking 7 more away from that to give me negative 12. I divide by 3, divide by 3. Well, here comes my rule. Did we multiply or divide by a negative number? No, it was positive. So my sign stays the same. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. So x is bigger or equal to negative 4. So I'm going to find negative 4 on my number line. And since I'm equal, it's going to be a closed dot. Since I'm bigger, I'm going to show that I'm shading to the right. All right, let's try number 12. 2x plus 4 is less than or equal to 20. I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I'm left with 2x is less than or equal to 16. Divide by 2, divide by 2. I get x is less than or equal to 8. So I'm going to go on my number line and I'm going to find 8, which is all the way right here. I am equal to 8, so that means I'm going to do a closed dot. And I'm going to be smaller than 8. So I'm going to shade and show I'm going that way, in that direction. All right, number 13. I have 21 minus 9x is less or greater than or equal to negative 6. Well, I see that this 21 is positive, so I need to subtract 21 on both sides. I'm left with minus 9x, so negative 9x is greater than or equal to, well, I have negative 6 minus 21 gives me negative 27. I need to divide both sides by negative 9. Well, wait, I heard a special word, negative. If I multiply or divide by negative, we need to flip our sign. So since I divided by a negative, I'm going to flip my sign. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 27 divided by 9 is 3. So my inequality reads x is less than or equal to 3. So I'm going to find 3 on my number line. I'm equal to 3, so it's a closed dot, and I'm less than 3, so I'm going to shade to the left. Okay, number 14. Which values from the set of numbers are solutions to this inequality? Okay, so we need to solve our inequality. So have negative 1/4 x plus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 5. All right, so we're going to keep solving inequalities just like we did. So I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. I have negative 1/4 x is greater than or equal to, well, negative 5 minus 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is negative 13. Okay, I'm going to treat this as one whole number. Now, I was teaching you guys the trick. If you see a fraction being multiplied by a letter, you can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of that number. And the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4/1. Now remember, it's going to be a negative. Well, negative 4/1 is still negative 4. So negative 4. Oh, wait. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, it's 12. Sorry, negative 12. Then these cancel out and I am left with x. Now notice I'm multiplying by a negative, so I need to flip my sign. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 12 times 4 is 48. So x is equal to 48, but less than 48. So read the table with me. I have my values. Is a solution, is not a solution. So if I plug 45 in, would this be true to my inequality? Yes, because I'm smaller than 48. If I plug 46 in, am I going to be smaller? Yes. If you plug 47 in, yes. If I plug 48 in, would that be true? Yes, because 48 can equal 48. But if I plug in 49, would that be a solution? No, 49 is bigger, and so is 50. All right, number 15, write and solve an equation for each problem below. So Rachel ordered early learning software for her daughter from an online retailer. Each item costs $6.50, and there is a shipping fee of $8.50 for the entire order. Okay, so I need to write an equation to represent the number of items Rachel S. ordered if her total cost was $80. Okay, so before we can do that, let's think about this. What would my equation be? So I know that each item cost me $6.50. So I would have 6.5x, where x represents the number of items and $6.50 represents how much each item is worth. Then I have to add my shipping fee onto that of $8.50. Okay. So now if her total cost was $80, well, 80 is my total. I know that x is every number. Y must be my total. So I'm going to write 80 is equal to 6.5x plus 8.5. And now we need to solve to see how many items did Rachel order from this company. So I'm going to subtract 8.5 from both sides. I'm left with 6.5x. I'm going to go over here, 80.0 minus 8.5. I need to do some borrow and carry. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 8 is 1. Oh, bring the decimal. 7 minus 0 is 7. So I have 71.5. Divide by 6.5 on both sides. So I'm going to have 6.5 is on the outside, 71.5 is on the inside. Okay, I cannot have a decimal on the outside, so I'm going to have to move it and move it here. Okay, 65. I cannot go into 7, but I can go into 71 at least one time. We need to borrow and carry. 11 minus 5 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Bring down the 5. 65 can go into 65 one time with nothing left over to give me x is equal to 11. So Rachel ordered 11 items from this company. All right, number 16. At the fair, the pricing for the equation was modeled as y is equal to 2.5x plus 9.50. Use the equation to help you complete the table below and answer the questions. All right, so I see x and I see y. Every time I see a number for x, I'm going to plug in that number into my equation. So I would have y is equal to 2.5 times 4 plus 9.5. All right, well, 2.5 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. I have one place value, so I have 10 plus 9.5, which gets me a total of $19.50. Let's go ahead and do the other x value. So y is equal to 2.5 times 10 plus 9.5. Well, 2.5 times 10, 0, 0, placeholder, 5 and 2, 250, but I have one place value. So it's really 25 plus 9.5. So 25 plus 9.5, I have 0.5 here. 9 plus 5 is 14. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have 34.50. Now I'm left with my two y variables. When I see a y number, I'm going to plug that number in for y. So for this one, I would have 27 is equal to 2.5x minus 9.5. So I need to add 950 to both sides to give me 2.5x on the outside. Well, I know I'm going to have a 0.5. 9 plus 7 is, 16. 2 and 1 is 3. I'll double check myself. 27 plus 9.5. Yep, 36.5. I'm going to divide both sides by 2.5 to leave me with x is going to equal, 2.5, 36.5. Move your decimal over. 25 can go into 36 one time. I don't have to borrow and carry. 6 minus 5 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. Bring down my number. Okay, let me make sure. 27 plus 9.5 divided by 2.5. All right, 25, let's see. I know I can go in there 4 times, add a 100. Yep, and I got 1, 5, add a 0. 150, it is 6 times. So you should get 14.6. All right, and then the last one, 39.50 is equal to 2.5x plus 9.5. Oh, that's where I messed up. Okay, hang on. Let me grab a sticky note because I did that problem all wrong. I was using subtraction, not addition. All right, let's fix that here. There we go. Okay, so let me do that one again. I'm sorry. So 27 is equal to 2.5x plus 9.5. There we go. Now we need to subtract 9.5. I was thinking of what I was supposed to do and wrote that instead of what I needed to. All right, now I'm left with 2.5x is equal to, and we're just going to go ahead and use the calculator just to help us out here. 27 minus 9.5 is going to give me 17.5. Divide both sides by 2.5. Divide by 2.5 is going to give me 7. So I should have 7 tickets here. Now we can try it for this one. All right, so I'm going to subtract 9.50 on both sides to give me 2.5x. Well, 0, 0, 0, I get 30 divided by 2.5. 2.5 on the outside, 30 on the inside, 0, 0. Let's say, takes me 4 times for 100, 8 times for 2, 4, 8, 12 times for 30. So that means x is equal to 12. That's a lot of work. Okay. Then letter B is saying, let me write 12 off to here. Let me do that. There we go. Then letter B is saying, use your equation to determine the total cost for the fair if we bought 15 tickets. Now, all the number of tickets, my x variable, I was plugging it in for x. So I'm going to have y is equal to 2.5 times 15 plus 9.5. Well, I need to do 15 times 2.5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5, 6, 7. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. 5, 7, 3. I have one place value here. I have one place value here. So I have 2 in all. So 1, 2. Wait. Oh, no, I don't have any here. I have just one. So just one. Sorry, 37.50. I can't even see my own handwriting. Plus 9.50. 0, 10, 17, and 4. So for 15 tickets, it's going to be $47. All right, so number 17, Jada is draining at a rate. So I'm draining at a rate of 1.2 gallons per minute, meaning that I'm taking away that 1.2. It's a negative thing to me. The tank contains 114 gallons of water. Write an equation that represents the amount of water in the tank as it is being drained per minute. Okay, so I start with 114 gallons of water. Every single minute, I'm taking away 1.2. So I'm taking away 1.2 gallons per minute. And that is to equal y, which is how much is left over. So you can say y is equal to 114 minus 1.2x. So it says, use your equation to determine how much water is going to be left in the tank if Jada drains the tank for 20 minutes. So my minutes is x. X is the number of minutes because I'm taking away 1.2 every minute. So I'm going to do 114 minus 1.2 times 20. Well, 20 times 1.2, 0, 4, placeholder, 0, 1, 1, 4, 0. I have one place value. So I have y is equal to 114 minus 14. Well, 114 minus 14 is 100 gallons left. All right. Number 18. Okay, so suppose the Rocky Mountains have 72 centimeters of snow. The warming weather is melting the snow at a rate. So I'm melting the snow at a rate of 5.8. So that means I'm decreasing 5.8 centimeters per day. If the snow continues to melt at this rate, after 7 days of warm weather, how much snow will be left? Okay, so if I'm decreasing by 5.8 per day, I want to know how much came off after 7 days. So I need to do 5.8 times 7. Well, 7 times 8 is 56. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 5 more is 40. I have one place value at there to make it go over one time. Now, this snow is coming off. So I'm being subtracting. It's negative. I'm taking it away. So I'm going to have 72.0 minus 40.6. Borrow and carry, 10 minus 6 is 4. 1 minus 0 is 1. Oh, decimal. And then 7 minus 4, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7 is 3. So after 7 days, we have 31.4 centimeters left. Okay, so Juan is designing a garden in his backyard. The table shows the possible dimensions of his backyard. We need to let y represent the length of the garden, okay? Because remember, it's always going to be y is equal to, write an equation that represents the length of the garden in terms of the width x. So my x is going to be represented by that. So what needs to happen is I need to see, okay, if I start at day 0, what do I start with? How long is it? So it starts at 3. What happens from day 0 to day 1? Oh, well, I add 1. From 4 to 5, I add 1. From 5 to 6, I add 1. From 6 to 7, I add 1. And then look, each time I'm going up by 1, I'm adding 1. So I start with 3. And for every width, so as my x's are increasing, I'm adding 1 to that. So my equation is going to be y is equal to x plus 3, or 1x plus 3. All right. Serena is running a 26-mile marathon. The table shows how far she ran at different times during the race. Choose the equation that represents for the table and distance y Serena ran per hour. All right, so remember, when you're looking at your tables, you've got x and you have y. So when I plug in 1 into my x, I should get 10. Well, 10 times 1 is 10. Okay, so that works. 1 plus 10 is 11. Does that work at 10? No. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 10 is 15. Does that get me 10? No. 5 times 1 is 5. Well, does that get me 10? No. Well, look, it just happens to be that one equation. We can check it as well with this one. 2. If I plug 2 into x, I have 10 times 2. Does that get me 20? Yes, it does. So A is the correct equation. All right, number 21. The graph shows the relationship between the two quantities. Choose the equation that represents the data shown. So I've got 2 coordinate points. This one is at 1, 5, and then this one is at 4, 8. All right, so same concept as this one, I'm going to do for down here. Every x, I'm going to plug it in. Well, 3 times 1, does that get me 5? No. 1 plus 4, does that get me 5? Yes. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Does that get me the same answer? Yes. 1 minus 4, that gets me negative. That's not going to be right. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 2 more is 4. That doesn't equal 5. And then look, this is division, so I have 1 over 5, so 1/5, that's not equal to 5. Okay, now that I'm down to 2 choices, now I need to check this one. When I plug in 4 for x, it needs to equal 8. So 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. That's true. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. That one doesn't work. So your final answer is y is equal to x plus 4. Okay, which solution is best, or no, which situation is best represented by the equation below? So I have 7 is equal to 127 minus 5b. Okay, so I know that I'm starting with this right here. Okay, so we need to take a look. So other people, or of the 127 people attending a rugby game, 5 were the concession stand. Be rested? Something. And 7 were standing up and cheering. What is B, the number of attendees who were seated? That doesn't sound right to me. There were 7 players. Okay, look, there were 7 players left over after 127 rugby players in the league were divided into 5 teams with B players who were on each team. What is B, the number of players on each team? Okay, so maybe. There were 5 players left over after 127 rugby players in a league were divided into 7 teams with B players on each team. What is B, the number of players? Okay, maybe. Of B people attending a rugby game, there were 7 people at the concession stands, 127 people who were seated, and 5 people who were standing up and cheering. What is B, the number of people that were attending the game? Okay, so if it says B attending the game, that tells me that's going to be at the end. So it looks like I'm down between B and C. Well, when I see 7 players left over or 5 players left over, the leftover tells me what this is, that equal to 7. So trying to use our process of elimination, I'm going to assume that B is the correct answer. All right, number 23. This is very similar to 21. So I've got the graph shown and I need to find my coordinate points. So I see that I'm at 5, 1. And then over here, I'm at 15, 3. All right, so I'm going to plug 5 into my equation. So 3 times 5 is 15. Well, that doesn't equal 1. 5 plus 4 is going to equal 9. That's not 1. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm way above that. 5 minus 4 is 1. Well, that works. 2 times 5 is 10. Well, that doesn't even work. And 5 divided by 5, so 5 divided by 5, well, that equals 1. So that's correct. Now I need for 15 and 3. Well, 15 minus 4 is going to give me 11, which is in 3. So that one's gone. 15 divided by 5 is going to give me 3. So my correct equation is F. Y is equal to X over 5. All right, number 24. This is our Venn diagram again. So I need to label each of my pieces here. I know that natural goes here. Integers is, or no, not integers. Wow. Whole number is next. Then integers. And then rational. All right, so number 25, I'm going to scoot up and I need to plug all of these numbers into the correct section that it goes in. Well, 0.25, that's in the form of a decimal. The only place it can go into is rational numbers. -1, well, that's a whole number and it's negative. It goes into integers because integers is negative whole numbers, and 0 and my positive numbers. 0, it goes into my whole number category. But remember, 0 is also an integer. I have positive 104. That's a natural number. I have 3/4. Well, that's my fraction category, which is my rational category. I have -101. Well, that's a negative whole number, so I can go into integers. I have -3/8. Just because it's a negative doesn't mean that it goes straight into integer category. We have to see that it's a fraction, which means it's going to go into rational. Positive 10 goes into natural. 6 3/4, well, that's a whole and a fraction combined together, so that goes in the rational. 0.3, and that's supposed to be repeating of the 3, so that needs to go into my rational category. 0.001, well, that's definitely a decimal. How many zeros? There you go. That goes here. I have a positive 5 next, which goes here. I have a 1,872 point that, so that number needs to go here. 872.0245, that goes in the rational category. 1/10 is rational again. And then I have -2, which goes into my integer category. So this is where all of your numbers should have been, okay? Integers includes your negatives and your zeros and your positives. So integers includes everything here. They just do not include this. Your natural is just your positive numbers. All right. Number 26, it looks like we've got some fractions that we just need to subtract the two fractions. All right, so I'm going to change this to an addition. So remember, I'm going to keep, change. So keep the first term, change this to addition, change the sign of this, and it looks like I'm adding my two fractions. So I'm going to use the stacking method of 5 1/3 and then 2 5/6. Before I can add, I need to get to a common denominator. So I'm going to find a common denominator, and it's 6. So I'm going to have 2 over 6. And that's still 5 over 6. Well, 5 plus 2, 5, 6, 7 is 7 over 6. 5 plus 2 is 7. Now, I cannot leave this because that's an improper fraction. I know that 6 can go into 7 one full time, which adds one more to this, which makes it 8 1/6. I'm going to do the same thing for number 7. I'm going to keep the first term, change the subtraction to addition, and then change the value of the second. So I have -1/5 plus -2/10. Well, before I can add them, I need to find a common denominator, and I see that it's 10. So I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by 2 to have -2 over 10 plus -2 over 10. Well, -2 plus -2 is -4 over 10. And this can simplify by 2. Well, 4 divided by 2 is -2 over 5. -2 over 5. All right, and then number 28. So a phone has 32 gigabytes of storage. 1/16 of storage is for pictures. 3/4 of storage is for apps. And then the remaining storage is for the text messages. On this phone, how many gigabytes are used for text messages? Okay, so the first step I need to do is I need to see how much storage is for pictures and for apps. So I'm going to add my two fractions together. So I need to add both of them. Well, remember, I have to find a common denominator to be able to add. So I'm going to have 1/16 plus 12 over 16. Well, 1 and 12 gives me 13 over 16. Okay. Now that's 13/16 of it. Well, I need to know of 32, what is 13/16? So I need to do 13 over 16 times 32 over 1. I need to multiply that. Okay. Well, 16 times 1 is 16. 32 times 13, 3 times 2 is 6, 9, 0, 2, 3, 6, 11, 4, 416. And let's go ahead and use our calculator to help us out here to be quick. 416 divided by 16 is 26. So between the two things, I'm using 26 gigabytes of storage, and the remaining is text messages. So I need to subtract my two numbers. So 32 minus 26, 2 and 1. So 12 minus 6 is 6, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So of this phone, how many gigabytes are used for text messages? It is going to be 6 gigs for text messages. If you have any questions on that, I'm going to do that. If you have any questions on that, please let us know.